Well, hello again, everybody. This is Steve Conrad, Matt Davis. We're coming to you from Eagles Stadium down in the lovely village of Mount Zion down in Carroll County to bring you tonight's game between the Darlington Tigers and the Mount Zion Eagles. And Darlington comes down here tonight with a record of 4-0, Matt. And Darlington is perfect, really playing some outstanding football. And Mount Zion is struggling. And I missed something here. If you want to listen to tonight's game or know somebody who does, WLAQ1410.com. Also go to the TuneIn app, WLAQ 1410, and you can stream that audio over that. And for YouTube live stream viewers, and man, we've had over 100 some nights watching the live stream. Go to YouTube, search R. Swiger numeric 1, and then the game will pop up for you. As I was saying, Darlington coming down with a 4-0 record, and Mount Zion struggling a little bit this year, Matt. They went 10-2 last year, and they've had 6 of their total 11 winning seasons in their entire history in the last or since 2012. So this year started out for them on a really tough note. They lost to Lamar County to start the season. Then they lost to Heard County. Then they lost to Christian Heritage. Really big, 42-0. So they are really struggling.
Yes, they are, Steve, and it looks like we're about to have our national anthem here in just a moment. So everybody is quiet at this moment. Might be a good time to take a little break and then get back into our conversation.
All right, we'll send it back to WLAQ for a 1-minute break, and then we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Sorry. It's okay. I got hearing aids this week.
Huh?
So everything's even louder.
Say the word.
I got hearing aids this week. You see them?
Be mindful of that.
All right, we're back here at Eagle Stadium in Mount Zion, and Matt and I were just beginning our talk about the beginning of the program tonight about Mount Zion and their struggles. And you know, Matt, Darlington is 7-4 in the series, but Darlington has lost 4 of the last 5 in this series. The last game last year, and Mount Zion won 28-7 at Chris 28-17 at Chris Hunter Stadium. So Darlington comes in here needing to win, but Mount Zion's even more desperate.
There's no question about it. Of course, when you look at the region, obviously you want to get on top of all those games, but when you play in single-A football, you got to look at the power rankings, and that's one of those things you want to get ahead of yourself, but you have to take care of business from week to week, because at the end of the year, you want to find yourself as high up as you can possibly get to make sure that you get the best draws there when you get into state playoffs, if you're lucky to get to that point. So this is a really important game for both teams, and you were talking about the success that Mount Zion has had. Brad Gordon, the coach, this is his 3rd season. He's in some new territory, because the first year he was there, they made it to the semifinals. The second year he was there, they made it to the quarterfinals. And this is a team that's going to have to string together some wins just to find themselves in the postseason. So this is, like I say, some uncharted territory for him as a head coach.
It is, and you know, if you're trying to figure out why they're struggling, it's not that youth. They have a small roster just like Darlington. Darlington does. They only have 8 freshmen on the roster, so it certainly is not youth. But they lost a lot of big playmakers from last year, and they're trying to get their rhythm right now. And the only game that you and I could look at and try to draw any kind of conclusion from in comparison is both teams have played Coosa, and Mount Zion beat them 21-20. Had to come from behind to do it, and Darlington, of course, beat Coosa 49-0.
Absolutely, and I've had the opportunity to see Coosa play on a couple of occasions. Once was against Bowden in a scrimmage, and when you look at Darlington's schedule moving forward, you got Mount Zion today, you have Christian Heritage on the horizon, Trine, Bowden, North Cobb Christian. There are a lot of good teams that Darlington's going to be facing in the coming weeks, so it's going to be really interesting to see how everything shakes out. But one of the things that I got curious about, Steve, after last week's win, Darlington scored 57 points in that game. So I was wondering, when was the last time that a Darlington team did that? And the answer to that question was in August of 2010. Unless I'm badly mistaken, that was Brad Butler's sophomore year, and they scored 57 points on Sonoraville. So this team is scoring at a clip that right now, if they keep on this pace, they could get to that point that they were at in 2010 when I think they scored 462 points that season, which is unbelievable.
Well, through 4 games, the Tigers have scored 161 points. So they're 40% of the way through the season, and I'm presuming that the season you're talking about also included playoff games.
2 games.
So, right now Darlington's averaging 40.25 points per game, giving up 10.105 points per game. Matt, that's a 30-point plus margin of victory for Darlington right now, whereas Mount Zion is averaging 11 points a game on offense but giving up 28 points a game. So they are minus 17 points per game. So they just have not been able to really stop people, but their big challenge has been moving the ball.
No question about it. And one of the things that I did today in my preparation for being here at this game with you, Steve, is I went on Max Preps to see if I could find any video of this team. And obviously in that situation, you're only going to see highlights of the team. But one of the things that caught my attention is they have a wide receiver, and he is number 7, and that young man's name is Christian Terrell. He's 6'2". He's a little over 160 pounds, and so he's a pretty decent-sized kid. And the quarterback for this team, Jared Knight, really likes to throw the ball to him. So one of the things that Darlington's going to have to look out for in this matchup is the occasional deep ball thrown to that guy, and they got to make sure he's covered. And not only that, put some pressure on the quarterback so he doesn't get comfortable throwing the ball to him.
Well, not only that, they call it a double wing because they say they have a left wing back and a right wing back. What they're actually running is they're running two men on the wings, but they have a split end out on one side. It's not really a true double wing, but we're going to call it that. We'll call it a double wing with a split end, but the wing back on that side is actually a slot back. But the way that they line up is to have double tight ends. They get a split end out there. They've got those wing backs, a fullback. They've got, and they will run, something very similar to what Georgia Tech ran, except that when they have the split end out there, they don't have double tight ends. So they run those different formations, and they don't do a triple option like Georgia Tech did. They're going to use more of a single wing, double wing type offense where they're bringing linemen back on counter plays. They're going to pull linemen to get out on end sweeps. They're going to fake it to the fullback, hand it to the wing back, very similar to what Darlington has done over the years. But Jared Knight, he's a good one. And Darlington's going to have their hands full.
There's no doubt, Steve. I mean, I think this is one of those games where there's no question that Darlington is the more talented team, the more experienced team, and the team that has the makeup that should win this game. But this is also one of those games where you don't want to take your opponent for granted. You have to stay focused, and you got to keep grounded and get out there and take care of business. And I think that when you look back at the way that Darlington played in the second half against Sonoraville, I think that was the game where they lost their focus. And ever since that game, obviously last week, they didn't have any trouble with Gordon Lee, which a lot of that had to do with the opponent. But I think some of that had to do with the fact of correcting some mistakes that they made in the game prior. And I think we'll see that same kind of focus in this matchup.
Well, I think we will too. And you know, that game against Sonoraville can come back and be a blessing for you, because as you get down into the season, you're going to have games where you just have to maintain your focus, even though you don't really feel like it. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense, Steve. Everything you say makes sense. You don't even have to ask me.
All right. And we'll have Matt talk to my wife about that later on. Yeah, the executive producer. By the way, she's not here again, recovering from a little knee surgery back home, and you have to get on the press box here. We had enough of a time ourselves, but Matt, you know, we just know we need the executive producer. She spots for us. She calls out flags. She sees things we never see and write them down. And we look forward to her being back next week when Darlington hosts Christian Heritage. It's actually homecoming at Darlington next week.
It'll be a special night. Looking forward, and that'll be another big matchup. You're at the point of the season where you're in the heart of the region, and this is a very strong region in terms of when you look at the remaining schedule for Darlington. There is not going to be an easy week for the Darlington Tigers, I don't think, the rest of the way.
All right, we are getting down to a couple minutes away from kickoff. Darlington and the captains have come out. Mount Zion's captains have come out. We're going to send it back for a quick 30-second break. We'll come back to get that to you on the captains and get the picture set for tonight's game. Darlington football coming from Mount Zion, Georgia. The Eagles of Mount Zion hosting Darlington in a 6A region game. Don't go away. All right, back here at Eagle Stadium in Mount Zion, the captains for both teams tonight. For Mount Zion, Ben May, number 51, Sawyer Anderson, number 8, Kendrick Brownlow, big wide receiver, senior, 6'5", 200 pounds, Matt. He's one of their captains. And then Logan Buchanan, their big tight end and defensive end. And for Darlington tonight, Frank Manning, Gil Maurer, Will Bagby. Glad to see Will getting out on the field, and Tyson Darty, the captains for the Tigers. Darlington will kick off, won the toss, defer to the second half. So the Mount Zion Eagles, and their colors are gray, white, and red. They will be going left to right on your radio dial. We're getting ready for high school football down here in Mount Zion. And ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, get your helmets on, get those chin straps buckled, because we're about to have high school football in about a minute. It'll probably take Darlington that long, Matt, to get it set up, and Brinson Sumner kicking for the Tigers.
And thank you for listening to the pregame show brought to you by Steak and Shake on Turner McCall Boulevard in Rome. And who knows, maybe I'll go through the drive-thru on the way home after the game.
All right, and stay tuned for the Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game after the game, as well as halftime. Matt and I will be talking about rules changes over the years in college football in honor of the 150th anniversary of college football. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Some pretty interesting changes. Here we go. Brinson Sumner, toe meets leather. It's going to be a high end-over-end kick. It's going to come to a man down on the near side, outside of the 10-yard marker. And he's running sideways, Matt. He gets knocked back at the 15. He should have just gone straight up the field.
And there's a flag on the field. Perhaps we're going to see a block in the back or something of that nature. We'll have to see what they come up with here in just a moment.
Yeah, not a good start for Mount Zion. Man caught it over here, Matt. He was between the 10-yard marker and the sideline on the near side, but then he cut it straight across the field. Matt, you called it an illegal block in the back.
Definitely, so that's going to back them up, and we've already seen, Steve, throughout the season so far, teams that come out and start making early mistakes against the Darlington Tigers, well, they typically pay big, and they say the Eagle flies on Friday, but if the Darlington Tigers have anything to say about it, that won't be happening tonight.
All right, the Eagles are going to have it inside their 10-yard line at about their 6-yard line. That's going to be 1st and 10 for Mount Zion, wearing their gray jerseys, white pants. They've got white numerals, red helmets with MZ on the side of their helmets. Darlington in their white travel jerseys, purple numerals, white pants, white helmets, purple tiger paw. Going to be a handoff to the fullback off the left side, and that is going to be number 12 and that's Antron Thompson. I had to be very careful, Matt, and write that down so I wouldn't call him Anton Thompson.
Well, they go with a little run there on first down. They get a pretty good pickup, with that, and with the type of offense this team runs, if you can get 4 or 5 yards, well, any team for that matter, on first down, you're doing a good job and staying on schedule.
And that was a fake to number 3, Kristen Cohen. Matt, he wears 2 different numbers, so I think he's wearing that number 3. Knight under center, and he hands off to the right wing back, coming off to the left side on a little counter play, and he's going to have a couple of yards. That's going to leave Mount Zion with a 3rd down and about 3.5, Matt. The line to make is it looks like the 17.
And when you look at the defensive line here of the Darlington Tigers and the way that they run this offense, they're going to be trying to get out to the edge. They're not going to be able to run the ball up the middle more than likely, and so far they're having a hard time getting the ball going.
All right, it's 3rd down, and we'll make it a long 3.5. The ball's at the 14, just inside the 14. Quarterback hands it to the fullback, and that's the end of that. He got smacked, Matt, right at the line of scrimmage. He may gain 1.5, but it's going to be 4th down and about 2 for the Eagles.
And again, when you look at that defensive front that you've got there for the Darlington Tigers, I mean, they have got some big kids out there clogging the lanes and making it difficult to run the ball up the middle, so that's going to be difficult for this team to do.
Patrick Shelley and Tristan Wright deep for Darlington. Shelley on the far side. Tristan Wright standing right in the middle of the field. And they will be at about midfield. And let's see if we can get the number of the punter. Is that a funny angle?
I believe it's a 1.
All right, that'd be Logan Buchanan, the senior. Oh, high snap. And there's going to be a penalty called. Boy, Matt, Logan Buchanan is 6'3", and he had trouble getting that ball. It just looped down, but illegal procedure called against the Eagles, their 2nd penalty of the night. You just look at these long snappers, and then you say, boy, Carson Swiger, how much we miss you, because he was a great long snapper, snapped the ball perfectly almost every single time. So, Carson, we wish you well. We'll have a little more update on Carson later on in the broadcast. So, this is going to be a 4th down for the Eagles, and they will be punting. The punter standing in his end zone. Another high snap. He gets it, and it's a high spiral kick. Going to come down to right on a fair catch at the 41-yard line of the Eagles. Of the Eagles. So the Tigers get good field possession, Matt, for their first possession of the night.
They really did. You had the penalties and difficult situations there going for Mount Zion there on that first drive. Couldn't get anything going, and now the Darlington Tigers have a short field, and you've got a team that's scoring at a really, really big clip, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And if you're the Darlington Tigers, you really want to get off to a fast start, and they've got a great opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, you do, Matt. And, this is just one of those situations where the Tigers, if the Tigers can get off to a fast start, puts a lot of pressure on the Eagles. 2 wideouts to this side, 1 to the near side. Griffin Brewster back to throw, throws the ball complete to a man at the 20-yard line of the Eagles, and let's see who that was, but it was a low throw. He fell to go down to it, but it's a nice completion of about 21 yards.
I believe that was Gavin Forsha.
All right, Gavin Forsha, and Matt, he had a good game last game.
He sure did. As a matter of fact, when you look back at that last game, I think there were 7 different wide receivers that had catches in that game, spreading it around.
3 wide outs to this side. Quick bubble screen complete to Shelley. 20, 15, and he is caught from behind at about the 12-yard line of the Eagles, and the Tigers are going to have second down and staying on schedule, Matt.
Such a big deal to be able to do that. And again, the Darlington Tigers with a short field. They've used 2 different receivers so far on this set. They're trying to be multiple, do a lot of different things. Let's see what they dial up.
All right, 2 wide outs to this side. No safety help over the top. Griffin Brewster sees it. He's going to throw it to Gil Maurer down underneath, and Maurer's inside the 10 down to about the 5, and there'll be another first down for the Tigers.
Absolutely, and we've talked about how well Griffin Brewster has thrown the ball, and you were talking, Steve, on the way down here about how he has not thrown an interception so far this season. He's got an arm, and he's throwing the ball really, really well and accurate, so that was another nice throw.
Yeah, and if you looked at the Rome News-Tribune football section this morning, Gridiron Central, Griffin Brewster leading all area passers in yards and touchdowns, and he's going to roll out to his right. Nobody there, but he gets it to a man wide open, and that's Gavin Forsha, and that'll be a 5-yard touchdown pass, and he rolled out here. There was nobody covering Forsha, and he has a nice 5-yard touchdown pass.
And again, we talked about Darlington getting off to a fast start. You got a short field on some difficult situations for Mount Zion. You take advantage of it on a few pass plays. 3 different guys touch the ball in that particular series, and they score. That's the way you do it. That was an excellent drive there by the Darlington Tigers.
It really was, and the Tigers go up 6-0 with 7:38 to play here in the game. Man, I'm looking to my left for the scoreboard, but it's down to the right. Sumner in for the point after. Good snap. Manning puts it down. The point is up 7-0. Darlington with 7:38 to play here in the first quarter. So we're going to send it back to WLAQ for a 30-second break, and then we'll come back for Darlington's kickoff to the Mount Zion Eagles. Keep the chin straps buckled. Don't go away. All right, back at Eagle Stadium in Mount Zion. Beautiful night down here. We wish it'd be a little cooler, Matt, but we're up here on this press box, and anytime there's a little breeze, we get it. And so it's a really nice, beautiful setting down here in Mount Zion. Toe meets leather, high, end over end kick, and it's going to be fielded at the 3-yard line, dropped, and that's Jared Knight trying to get upfield, Matt, and he is going to run straight upfield. I believe that was Knight.
Yeah.
And he got out to about the 17-yard line, and the Eagles will take their second possession of the night from there.
You know, and looking at that situation, the way that he was going to have to grab that at an angle and the way the ball was going, he probably should have just let that one go into the end zone for a touchback. That was a dangerous situation for Mount Zion. But again, you have Mount Zion with poor field position, not as bad as last time. And so let's see what this defense of Darlington can do.
All right, Knight, he's under center at quarterback for the Mount Zion Eagles. They've got 2 wideouts this time with 2 slot backs, man in motion, right to left. Knight throwing downfield, and there's a Darlington defender who had great position. Shelley really played that well, Matt, over on the far side. He had a better chance of catching that than the receiver. Incomplete.
We mentioned in the pregame that we were going to see the deep ball thrown to Christian Terrell, and there it is on their second possession of the game. That's not the last time we're going to see them throw that ball to him. They're going to try that again for sure.
You know, they've got some big receivers, Matt, and Patrick Shelley just had great position that time for the defensive play. 2nd and 10 from the 17 of the, well, they've got it on the 16, so we'll mark it the 16, 2nd and 10, man in motion, left to right. He's trying to get upfield. Darlington strings it out really well that time. It's going to be a gain maybe 3 or 4, and it will be 3rd down at about 6 for the Eagles.
Yeah, and it didn't look like it was going to be that much for Logan Buchanan because he kind of made a couple of spin moves at the end of that play, yards after contact, and turned it into something, but they still have 3rd and long, Steve. This is a tough situation for this team.
It is, and you know, we talked about how desperate Mount Zion is. They've lost to Christian Heritage. If they lose this game, they'll go 2 games behind the undefeated teams in the region with 4 to play. That's hard. Handoff to the right wing back. Man, he's trying to get out there. Oh, my goodness. Well, Tate Ratledge kind of strung it out and said hello, and he just flipped him backwards. And it's going to be a gain maybe of a half a yard. It'll be 4th and 5 for the Eagles.
And great pursuit by the defense. Yeah, Tate Ratledge got him, and he didn't really need any help, but had he did need help, it was there. There was 2 or 3 other guys in on that, and, man, that was a punishing hit for that young man.
It was. It was. All right, punt team out for the Eagles. Logan Buchanan, he's deep. The last time, quite an adventure with the snaps. Patrick Shelley, Tristan Wright back for Darlington, just inside Darlington territory. High snap. Buchanan gets it, and he gets it off, Matt. Boy, I tell you, it's not a great punt, but it's going to get a good roll, and they will actually get the ball. Darlington's actually going to be further back than we started last time by 2 yards. We'll have the ball at the 44 of Mount Zion. But, boy, Buchanan, he has just been a jack-in-the-box back there.
He has been, and of course, the snapper there probably should buy him an ice cream after that one because he really saved his rear end on that play because that could have been an absolute disaster, and he turned it into a little bit better of a situation.
Well, I'm impressed with the athleticism of Logan Buchanan, 6'3", 230-pound senior for the Eagles. Tigers up 7-0, 5:43 to play here in the first quarter. If you're just joining us, Tigers converted on a short field for their first touchdown of the night on the first possession. 3 wide outs to this side, 1 to the far side. Colin Rogers, he's going to take the ball, run straight up to 40, 35, 30, and he is finally upended on a great tackle at the 25, Matt, or he's standing in the end zone handing the ball to the referee.
Yeah, 20-plus yard run there for Mr. Colin Rogers. That's his first carry of the game, and he came up big. Big hole was opened up by the offensive line for him to run through.
Same formation. Colin Rogers, single setback. Griffin Brewster hands it to him right off the center again, and he's going to have a nice gain of 5 down to the 20. It's going to be 2nd down and about 5 for the Tigers.
Yeah, a little bit better defense bringing him down, but still he got 5 yards, half of what you'll need to get that first down. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him keep it on the ground here.
Griffin Brewster, he hands it to Rogers off the right side, and Rogers cuts it back in field inside the 15 down to about the 12. The referees were very kind to Mount Zion that time because they had a man who was about 10 yards on the field when Griffin Brewster snapped that ball. 1st and 10 Darlington.
Absolutely. Darlington's in another great position to pick up a score, and we talked about fast starts being really important with this team, and you got to get a couple early scores and just keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, that's the one thing you got to do. Darlington running with 5 offensive linemen. Then they've got 3 men wide on this side. We're switching people around. Colin Rogers now is a single setback, and there's going to be a penalty against Darlington, illegal procedure. First penalty of the night. So a lot of moving around, and that became a penalty, Matt.
Well, we want to invite you to stay tuned at halftime. We got a while till we get there, but our halftime show tonight on the road is brought to you by Steak and Shake on Turner McCall. And then after the game tonight at 10 o'clock or maybe a little sooner, it'll be the Rome Orthopedic Center High School Football Scoreboard Show. We're just getting started, Steve. It's going to be a fun night.
It really is going to be a fun night, and then we're going to have Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game, man in motion, right to left. Quick pitch to Colin Rogers. Coming to the left side. 10. 5. Oh, I thought he had the lane there, man. He cut it up into that hole, but that's a bread and butter play for Darlington's offense. And that's going to be a 2nd down at about the 6 for Darlington.
It'll be interesting to see what they do here, Steve, because in the first possession they had, it was all passes. This one's been all runs by Colin Rogers. I'm really curious to see what the offensive coordinator dials up here for 2nd down and 5, where they are on the field.
Griffin Brewster under center, single setback Colin Rogers, Tyler Watkins in motion, and that time Colin Rogers takes the pitch and he's cut down. Yeah, that was Logan Buchanan coming in there. They're great defensive end, and he just didn't get blocked, and that's going to be a loss of 4 for Collin. 3rd and 9 for Darlington.
Absolutely, and we'll see what they dial up here for the 3rd and 9. As you mentioned, they've gone run on every single play in this series so far. So let's see what they do here, Steve, and see if they can get it in the end zone.
Interestingly, the first possession was all passes, and this possession is all runs. So Tommy Atha and Brent Bell just decided we're going to do some things where we're going to just play certain kinds of things. Griffin Brewster rolling to his right, threw into the back of the end zone. Incomplete on the far side. Patrick Shelley was the intended receiver, and Darlington will now have a 4th down. There's also a penalty against Darlington. But let's see what the penalty is. Matt, did you see it?
I have not seen the call yet. I don't think the official has indicated. There it is. It's a hold.
So that's a holding penalty for Darlington. And
well, actually, there were 2 penalties, and they were offsetting. No, it's declined. Excuse me.
So they declined it. So instead of giving Darlington a chance on a 4th down and about 18, they're going to allow it's 3rd down and 18. They're going to allow Darlington to attempt a field goal here. Brinson Sumner coming in. He's 1 for 3 for the season on field goals, perfect on his points after. And he is going to set the ball down at about the 16.5-yard line. So this will be a 26.5-yard field goal from the right hash. Watch it. Good. And Darlington goes up 10-0. So that is a 26-yard field goal by Sumner. So with the score 10-0, 3:20 to play in the first quarter, let's go back to WLAQ for a 30-second break, and then we'll come back for more high school football. Don't go away.
Don't forget, next Saturday, October the 5th, is the Mount Zion Founders Day. Come on out. There's a lot of games, a lot of craft vendors, a lot of food vendors, a lot of activities for the whole family. Come on out to the city of Mount Zion and enjoy Mount Zion Founders Day.
All right, we're back here at Eagle Stadium. Darlington has just gone up 10-0 on the courtesy of a Sumner field goal, 26 yards. And so Sumner is now 2 for 4 on the season. Here we go. Toe meets leather, high end over end kick. It's going to come down to a man at the 4. He's running straight up field, Matt, and that's a good thing to do. He kind of hesitated at the 20, got knocked backwards by several white jerseys at about the 21. But that's the best field position for Mount Zion.
It truly is, Steve, and not to mention there to hold Darlington to a field goal. I think in some ways you could consider that a victory for Mount Zion with the short field that they had on that possession. So if you're Mount Zion right now, you just want to see if you can get the ball moving, see if you can get a couple first downs and maybe get a little rhythm on offense. And if you're Darlington, obviously you want to do everything in your power to prevent them from being able to do that, and we'll see what happens.
All right, the senior Jared Knight under center for Mount Zion, man in motion, and that is right to left. Quick pitch to the fullback. He got to the corner, Matt. He's going to have good running room. He's knocked down just shy of the 0 on the 30 on the far side. He's going to have a gain of about 7.
Absolutely, and I've got a score update for you from college football. There are a couple of, I don't know if you call them real interesting games, but we'll probably be following along. But right now, Virginia Tech is up over Duke 3-0 in the second quarter, and that is being played in Blacksburg.
All right, so the Hokies ahead of the Blue Devils, and 3-0 in the first quarter. And Matt, while we got just a moment here, we want to recognize the trainers for the Darlington football team. They do a lot of great things, help the Darlington players stay in shape and keep them healthy. But Donnie Brown, the head trainer, then we have Lily Porterfield, Casey Barnett, and Carly Chisholm. And, Matt, no football team can function very well without good trainers.
No
so
question
we're
about
thankful to have our trainers and the staff, their staff over there, and what they do for the Darlington football team.
No question about it. I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve, because I think that's one of the things that maybe gets overlooked sometimes, and there's so much that goes in to getting football teams in the situation they need to be in, and that's a big part of it. So glad you pointed that out.
All right, while we were gone, second down play for Mount Zion, a 1-yard gain. So now it is third down and about 2. The line to make is the 31-man in motion right to left. They hand it back to the backside on a counter. Man, that was a really good play for Mount Zion, and they're going to have a gain of about 6 and first down, their first down of the night.
Yeah, they had the play looking like it was possibly going to be coming up to this right side, and I think maybe a little bit of the defense bid on that, and then they headed the other way, got some nice yardage, and got a first down. That was a positive play.
All right, 1st and 10 for Mount Zion. They trail 10-0 with 2:12 to play here in the first quarter. Darlington with a touchdown pass from Brewster to Forsha and a field goal by Sumner. Sumner also kicked an extra point. So the Tigers are up 10-0. This is a tighter formation with a wide out to the far side. Quarterback, he's going to hand off. Well, there's going to be a whistle, illegal procedure against Mount Zion. And, Matt, that is their third penalty of the night. And, you know, they're just shooting themselves in the foot, if you will, with mistakes.
No question about it. And for whatever team you're rooting for, that's very frustrating to see. I know it's frustrating for the coaches and the players. When you get a little momentum going, you have something positive happen, and then right after that you have a mental mistake like that, and it can really just kill drives.
Well, it can, and Mount Zion's not hurrying up. They're coming in. Knight's coming over to the sideline to get a play, and then he's taking it in. So they're taking the play clock way down. They're not moving very fast. Knight's under center, man in motion, left to right. And Knight, he rolls to his left. He's going to throw the ball downfield. That's the second time they've taken a shot downfield to Christian Terrell, and it's incomplete on the far sideline.
Absolutely, and going back to what you were talking about with them taking their time, you know, that's the best game plan, I think, if you are Mount Zion, is try to eat as much of the clock as you can and keep that high-powered Darlington offense off the field, because at the clip they're scoring, you don't want those guys out there.
Yeah, you really don't. All right, second down and 15, and the line to make is the 47-yard line, and the ball's resting on the 32. So Mount Zion needs to get some yardage here to make a third down manageable. Darlington's defense is brought in because they have a tight formation. The fullback has taken the pitch, and well, that takes care of that. Tate Ratledge shot through, grabbed him up around the shoulder pads, threw him down, but then he made kind of a statement with his body language, and I think Darlington's going to be called for unsportsmanlike conduct.
I believe you're right. They've got a couple of flags down on the field right now. There's a conference right there, and, I mean, if they make that call, it won't be a surprise because we all saw it up here, Steve, and you hate to see that. I guess it's one of those things where you get caught up in the moment, but you don't want to give them any help.
Personal foul, face mask against the defense.
Well, I don't know about that. I thought he just kind of grabbed him across the upper chest, but we are a little farther away than the officials.
That is true.
But that will move the ball out to the 45-yard line. And you remember that we had the penalty against Mount Zion, incomplete pass, and this gives them a third and about 1.5. So they're on the 45-yard line. And then a personal foul in high school is not an automatic first down.
Right under center, Thompson.
Let's see, now that's 2nd and 1.5, not third. All right, quarterback rolls to his left. He is under pressure, Matt, so instead of 3rd and short, they're going to have 2nd down and about 5, 3rd and about 5.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine what it's like to be out there on the field, and all of a sudden you look